Hello everyone, this is Ali Reza. Welcome to the Mentor Code Lab. In previous videos, we generated a multi-sub-project system and even talked about access widener. Of course, you will see the access widener in the main series too, because that's a main topic. However, what I did between the episodes from the finished of the last project recording up to the access widener video was that I tried to update to 1.21.5 and I synced the Gradle and then I had to open the tasks. So I went into the tasks on the main project and used gen sources. Now this caused a huge headache for me because the gen sources was not working whatsoever. It had so many errors and it was talking about the race conditions between the output of one project being used in the other project and things were complex. So here is the last video on your mini series for the multi-sub project and I'm talking about the final things you have to fine tune to get everything work. Now, if you ever find yourself in a hiccup like saying that this thing needs to be run after that thing, of course, we had seen something like that for mod jars, but this time we had it for gen sources with wine flower. Now, this has a hiccup. These two tasks were created by me here. So when I was running the sync Gradle, they already was defined. However, gen sources with wine flower is a task that Fabric will add to the list at the end of the evaluation. So when you sync the Gradle, if you just use this section, you will get an error. Now you have to use this project.after evaluate. It means that, hey, first evaluate the project, then come back and add this section to your process. Now, this section is almost identical to the top one. We only don't have this .configure. It says that we have a task that is named this, and we want to do something about it. We want to say that, hey, this task depends on something else. Also, take note, here we are using the sub-project, then colon the task. Here we are using another way of syntaxing it. We say that look into this project, and then from the tasks, choose this task. On the main project, the gen sources with wine flower is depending on the cables gen sources, on the machines gen sources, and the ultra tools gen sources. However, we have something else. We are not depending on the storage, but we want to happen after the finish of the storage sub-project generating its sources. So we say must run after the storage generating the sources. This was the main. Now, in each one of these sub-projects, we have a section that is almost identical. And how did I find which project should be depend on what project? The error log. The error log simply tells you that, hey, the base project, for example, is depending on the ultra IO word gen sources task. So you know that, okay, I have to put the ultra IO word on the base. It would say that base project is depending to the decoration, is depending to the wood. It depends to the battle or the goo. I don't understand why something like command, for example, should be depending to wood. I seriously don't understand because the wood project has nothing in it. It's absolutely empty right now. So why my command project should be depending to the wood? I don't understand it. But when I tried to generate the sources, the log file told me that it should depend. So I'm an obedient kid, so I added it here. The problem is that at the end of the road, there is one hiccup that I don't like. When I generate the sources, everything works and finally finishes after a few minutes. However, you will see that things go in a loop at some times. For example, it starts to create the base, then it goes for something like wood, okay? Then it comes back to command, then again it goes for the wood. So it generates the sources for the wood twice or three times. These loops eventually finish and then the project will generate the final source for the main tasks. As I said, it was a hiccup and it took me a long time to figure something, and that was exactly this last line. If I change the must run after and type depends on, so if I do this, you will get a meaningless error and things never works because now you have a loop. Basically, you are trying to build the sources on the main project. The main project will try to make the cables. The cables use Machina. Okay. And then the cables, for some reason, is finished. It comes back to Machina. It does the Machina. It does the tools. Now it wants, let me say it this way. It wants to make the Machina. Okay. So it finished the cables. Now the project is finished the cables. It goes to Machina. Machina needs to create the storage, for example. Now here's the problem. The storage will need to generate the sources on the main. So it will come back all the way to the top tells that, hey, main, please generate your sources. And the main says, okay, I need to create the cables. Okay, I need to create the machina. Okay, the machina says, I need to create the storage. Okay, now the storage says, I need to create the main. So this will become an infinite loop and it will not work. The way out of it is to change this one to must run after. And it was a little bit of a problem that I struggled to find and solve. Okay, now when everything is done, you are face to face with a complex build.gradle, both on your main and sometimes on your sub projects. Unfortunately, the more you go forward, the more you have to add to your build.gradles to get rid of the hiccups, get rid of the race conditions between different projects want to go ahead of the time. And as you saw in the last video, you have to do access wideners to handle things differently now, being smart. And sometimes you need to think out of the box, because sometimes the normal process that every mod developer is using will not work for your condition, because you dissected everything and put them into different projects. So you have to think smartly, and sometimes that gives you headaches. At the end of the road, honestly, this gives the players some flexibility. On the other hand, there's a downside to it. It may make some players confused, because, for example, they think that they want to play with storage and they would add the storage, they run the game and it says, okay, I need the base. Okay, go down and download the base. And then it would say, for example, I don't know, I would need the word. Okay, go download the word, and so on and so forth. So long story short, although it gives flexibility to the players, it takes out the flexibility from you as the mod developer, and it ties your hands in very critical conditions and makes you frown to solve something that shouldn't be there at all. And that is why I suggest that if you don't need this, stay away from it. However, if you really need something like this, then by all means, go for it and have fun with it. Now remember, this project is not finished. It's far from finished, actually. I just updated the versions for 1.21.5 and I found that there are some changes there, and I didn't process all the way to the end just because I don't want to finish this project and have this solution as my main project. So what I'm gonna do is just commit these changes and push it to the repository, and then I will close this project. I will reopen my main project and I will start working on that project from that point forward.
If you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button and turn on that bell so that when I publish a new video, you will get informed. Have fun everyone. Bye.